All right, I'll say good day. We will begin this transmission, which is titled the 1-3-5-7-11 Refresher Course. Because passing now through this time, this passage, the eye of the needle, as we have called it, stripping away those fear-based negative beliefs that don't serve you, so you can streamline yourself and get through this passage more easily, and then coming out the other side, which you will relatively soon. It is, from our perspective, a good idea to refresh your memory as to how to use the tools, specifically remembering all the tools that you have at your disposal, so that when you do come out the other side, you will be more prepared to apply these understandings, these concepts, these tools to your life, having stripped away, ideally, some or all of the fear-based beliefs within you, will allow the application of these tools to be more effective, more accelerated, more noticeable in your reality as you accelerate forward on the other side of this passage that you are going through now. So, we will now remind you and refresh your memory as to the 1-3-5-7-11 concepts. We begin, of course, with 1, in the understanding that everything is one. Everything is made of one thing. There is nothing else to make anything from. There is no outside to it. There is no beginning to it. There is no ending to it. What we are referring to is existence itself. It is what is, and it can never become what is not. That is not its quality. As we have said many times, that which exists cannot become that which does not exist, because non-existence, by definition, doesn't exist. That's its quality, to not exist. So that which exists, which you are a part of, because you exist, is worthy of its existence on the fact that it exists, and no other reason is required to know that you are necessary and needed and worthy of being a part of existence, or you wouldn't exist. You are needed for all that is to be all that is. Now, as the 1 then begins to reflect within itself, it splits, in a sense, into what you consider to be positive and negative energy, mechanically either integrating or separating, accelerating or decelerating, raising frequency or lowering frequency, to form a spectrum of perspectives, abilities. But the idea, as we have said many times, is that it doesn't jump from 1 to 2, it jumps from 1 to 3, because the line that splits them is a third component. Thus, existence, when it splits that way, when it reflects to itself, is a trinity automatically, because the line is the balance point between what appears to be the two opposites of positive and negative, light and dark. That line is always there. And as we have mentioned, forms a third component that gives the energy of existence a slightly positive bent, more than negative, because in the positive side, you are free to choose. You know you are free to choose. You are conscious and aware of the idea that you belong, that you're a part of all that is. And the center line, the balance point between the two, still allows you the freedom to know, the freedom to be aware that you have the ability to choose what you prefer. Whereas when you start dipping into the negative side, that awareness can begin to be experienced as diminished, becoming less aware that you have the freedom to choose, less aware that your belief systems are creating your reality. Therefore, because the balance point still offers you the opportunity to choose and have awareness of your choice in a positive way, existence is slightly, ever so slightly more positive than negative. And so, if you do nothing but allow yourself to then drift in the flow of creation, the flow of existence, you will ultimately be pulled by the current of existence back into the positive side, as long as you don't resist it, as long as you don't fight against it. So take advantage of the Trinity as the one becomes the three in going with the flow of the current of creation itself, and you will always, at the very least, if nothing else, be in the balance point in the center that will allow you the freedom to be aware that you can choose what you prefer in life. And then, going from the three, you become aware and remember that the description from that point forward in your reality of existence itself, the structure of it, the definition of it, is defined from our perspective as what we call the 5 laws of existence, being, again, that you do exist. That's number 1, and there is nothing you can do to change that, because, again, as we have said, existence cannot become non-existent. You may change your form, but you cannot cease to exist as the unique perspective of existence that you are. So when we say you exist, not only are we saying that you exist, but we're saying you exist. Your unique perspective, whatever makes you you, the reflection of all that is that you are, that you consider to be yourself, your identity, your beingness, exists, always has and always will from a temporal point of view, but time is subject to existence. Existence is not subject to time. Therefore, it's more than you having always existed, more than the idea that you will always exist. It simply is that you exist now, and now is all there is. So you just exist. That's your fundamental quality. You exist. That can never change. That's a description of the fundamental quality, the structure of the one, of existence itself. Then, everything is here and now, law 2. Because again, time and space are creations within existence. They are illusions within existence. Everything is here and now. Everything is completely accessible to you that is relevant for you to access, for the you that you are, for the reflection of all that is that you are experiencing yourself to be right now. Everything is accessible here. Everything is accessible now. You don't really have to reach to anywhere else or any other time in order to attract what it is that you truly need. It's all right here. It's all right now. And you will experience, if you go with the flow of your true being, whatever it is that's relevant for you to experience will manifest because it's all here right now and simply becomes visible to you. Number 3, as we have said, the one is the all and the all are the one. You are, like in a house of mirrors, a combination and a collection of unique reflections of all that is. Everyone is connected, interlinked. You can access what you need from everyone else, and everyone is a reflection for you in life to guide you, to allow you to understand what it is that you can choose from as options and opportunities, so that you each support each other in being more of who you are. And in so doing, start to recognize the connections between all of you, not only the similarities, but also the differences. And by validating the differences, if every one of those differences is true to the person expressing them, then you create harmony and unity in the whole, even as you create the experience of harmony and unity for the individualized aspects that each and every one of you are as reflections of the infinite. And then, the idea being, again, as a reflection, what you put out is what you get back. That's the 4th law. So that you can guide yourself by understanding that what comes back to you, what you experience in your reality, is there to guide you, to allow you the freedom to choose whether or not you want to continue with those kinds of experiences or whether you wish to change them to something that you prefer that's more in alignment with who you are. So what you put out is what you get back, because there really is no outside. It's just like a mirror reflection. The reflection, in a sense, isn't really over there. You are not over there. You are here. You are now. The reflection reminds you that you are here and now. And what you see in the reflection is what you're putting out. So if you prefer something different, change the you, the vibrational state of the you that you are, and you will see a different reflection. Now, because you have the experience of the illusion of time and space, you may see a little bit of a time lag before the manifestation changes, and that's all right. Because again, remember, the point is you're not really basing the change you're making on whether the outside changes. You are changing because that's what you prefer. And you're not making the change conditional on whether the outside looks different, but understanding that the true measure of change is that you decide what you prefer to be, what state of being you prefer to be in, no matter what the outside looks like, because then you're not making the change conditional on the outside having to look different. It will look different when you truly change, but at first you might test yourself and see if you really have changed by seeing if you're still responding or reacting the same way to something that still looks the same. Because if you are responding or reacting the same way you used to that you don't prefer to, then you haven't changed. So why should the outside look any different at all? The idea is that you respond differently even if the outside still looks like it did, because that's the true measure of you deciding that you have changed regardless of what's going on in the reflection, the illusion outside of you. And if you do that, then you will see that the changes will be reflected back to you. But there may be a little bit of a time lag. The fifth law is that everything does change, except the laws themselves. In other words, you are experiencing a structure that never changes, but your relationship to it, your relationship with it, your experience of it, your perspective of it, that's what changes. That's what allows existence to experience the concept that you call growth and expansion. But the structure itself has never changed. It is what it is. And everything you experience as a difference is simply another perspective of the same structure, the same moment, the here and now, from another point of view that you create within your consciousness, so that your relationship changes to it, your experience of it changes, even though the structure never does. These are the 5 laws. You exist. Everything is here and now. The one is the all are the one. What you put out is what you get back. And everything changes except the structure of the laws itself, which are the very definition of existence from our perspective. And then you go from the idea of the 5 to the 7. And the 7 are representative of the needs that are required for you to not only survive, but thrive in your reality experience. And they are simple and basic. And if every single one of these needs is fulfilled, you will have a life of joy and fulfillment. We talk about needs as opposed to wants, because wants can sometimes be the ego's desire to have something it may not actually need, that it thinks it needs, but doesn't really, in order for it to experience the state of being that it prefers to. So we simply focus on the concept that if you actually get everything you need in life, truly need in life, you will have a life of fulfillment and joy. The things you need to allow yourself to continue to experience the reality that you are experiencing right now, again, are simple and basic and are determined by how quickly you would leave the physical experience if you didn't have them. In other words, you would die. And the quicker you die is the more basic of the need. So the first basic need of the 7 is simply that you need air. You need to breathe. And as long as you are capable of allowing yourself to continue to breathe, you will not only survive, but you have the potential to thrive. Next, you need water for your physicality, because you are mostly made of it. You need to keep yourself lubricated, and so you can flow in your reality more easily. So water is the second basic need. Now you need sleep. You need to reconnect. Once you have air, once you have water, you need to reconnect to the idea of your spirit in non-physical reality. And in about 11 days or so, give or take, without sleep, without connecting, without dreaming, without making that recharging of the battery of your soul and spirit to maintain the concept of your physical perspective, again, you would find yourself deteriorating mentally. You would find yourself deteriorating in many different ways, losing the idea of your focus, losing the idea, so to speak, of the experience of desire to continue to live. You would find yourself going quite insane and not being able to focus in physical reality, at least not the one that you chose. And you would find yourself heading down the hill toward the idea of physical death. After sleep comes the idea of food, because you can actually last longer without food as long as you have air and water than you can without sleep. So the idea then is you have sustenance going into your body to maintain yourself, to survive and thrive. These are the first four basics, the idea of air, water, sleep, and food. Now we switch gears a little bit into things that you won't necessarily immediately die from if you don't have them right away, but they may create what would be experienced as a kind of diminishing of the spirit, a diminishing of the soul, a diminishing of the desire to thrive, a feeling of disconnection if you don't allow these things to come into your life. And the first one is the idea that we will loosely title shelter. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a physical building to shelter in. It could just be an environment that is conducive to you thriving, because there are outdoor environments on your planet that many people live in that are very conducive to their not only survival, but being able to thrive in that environment. So as long as it is conducive and compatible with the idea of your life form and allows you to experience a thriving in that environment, it can be an outdoor environment, it can be a shelter, but some form of compatible environment is also necessary for you to continue in your physical reality environment experience. And then the idea of relationship or connection is the sixth idea. You must allow yourself to feel connected or having a relationship with something. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical human person. It can be an animal. It can be a tree. It can be the cosmos. It can be all that is. But it is important for you, it is critical for you to have some kind of sense of connection and relationship to the reflection of existence itself in some expression, no matter what that is. And that will allow you to continue to feel that you are connected, that you can access what you need to bring it into your life, to manifest it from the here and now. And that allows you to continue to thrive and survive in your reality experience. And finally, the idea of true self-expression, creative expression. Being yourself and putting it out into the world, allowing yourself to truly express who you are, to not hold back, to not let fear-based beliefs diminish your ability to act on the idea of your passion. And this is what leads to the idea, after the 7 basic needs, directly into the 11 elements of excitement or passion. Because the 11 elements begin with the very fact of acting on whatever it is that contains more excitement, more passion, more curiosity, more attractiveness, in a sense, more love than any other choice at that particular moment. And again, we remind you, it doesn't necessarily have to be a life-spanning career. It doesn't necessarily have to be some gigantic project that takes years and years and years to fulfill or come to fruition. At every moment, you have all sorts of options available to you, even the ones you would consider to be ordinary or everyday. Taking a walk, talking to a friend, eating a meal, reading a book, watching a movie, whatever it may be. As long as you are taking action to the best you can on whatever it is that contains even just the tiniest bit more excitement and passion, curiosity and attractiveness than any other choice, and you just keep doing that to the best you can for as long as you can, you will be fulfilling that requirement of the 11 elements of excitement that will then lead you down the path that will fulfill your life automatically. So, the first 4 steps are to act on your passion, to the best you can. And when we say to the best you can, we mean taking it as far as you can till you can take it no further. And when we say take it as far as you can until you can take it no further, we mean that you need to also pay attention to what your society has established as an ability to do something. So if it countermands the laws you have agreed to abide by, if it countermands the ethics you have agreed to abide by in your society, if it countermands the morality you have agreed to abide by in your society, as well as the physical limitations that may be there for a variety of positive reasons, you cannot take it any further than that. And when you find coming up against that idea where you can take it no further, realize that's there for a reason. It's an indication that straight ahead is not your path, but taking a left or taking a right may be. So when you find that the excitement wanes, if you are not making it go away with your definitions, which is always the first thing to pay attention to, make sure you're not dampening the excitement with your negative belief systems. But if it's truly waning and truly showing you that you do not need to continue down that particular path that originally came to you in the form of excitement, then that's your first clue that you need to look around for what is next, containing more excitement than any other choice, because that is the turn you need to make and you need to take at that moment. So if you act on your passion to the best you can, then the third component of this formula is to act on that passion to the best you can with absolutely zero, and I mean zero, assumption or insistence on what the outcome is supposed to look like. Because the truth of the matter is that your physical mind, while it might sometimes guess correctly or closely or similarly to what the outcome does happen to look like, it very often has no clue what the best possible outcome actually needs to look like. So if you understand that your insistence on a particular outcome is actually limiting you from what an outcome could be that might be many times better than what your physical mind was capable of imagining, you won't insist, you won't assume on what that outcome needs to look like, because you really will finally be humble enough to let go of the idea that your physical mind knows for certain what the best outcome for you is. It doesn't in most cases, but your higher mind does. It's on the mountaintop, guiding you in the valley below, helping you turn left and turn right on the path that is truly you by sending you the language that is translated from the higher mind to the physical mind in the form of energy that your body experiences as passion and excitement. But the actions that you take are the response that need to happen. There must be a physical action, because physical action is actually the language of physical reality. And if you're not actually acting on the passion that your higher mind has sent you as a message, then you're not speaking in the language of physical reality. And if you do not take those actions on your passion, then there is no purpose in your higher mind sending you more opportunities to act on your passion if you haven't acted on what it's already sent you. So the idea, again, is to act on your passion with no insistence, no assumption as to what the outcome should be, and know for a fact that whatever manifests will be the outcome that at that moment you need to experience for whatever reason. You have to know it's there for a reason. And this brings us to the fourth point of the 11 elements, and that is to choose to remain in a positive state no matter what manifests from the actions that you take, because even if what manifests is, in objective perspective, something you don't prefer, objectively speaking, you have to know that it's still got to have manifested for a reason that can serve you. There's got to be a reason why that particular thing showed up in your life at that moment. Even when you chose to act on your passion, something showed up, perhaps, that is representative of what you don't prefer, but it's got to be there to serve you. If you stay in a positive state, you will understand how to use it in a positive way, and you'll be able to extract the benefit from it, and you will see and start to understand why that showed up. If nothing else, it can be as simple as something you don't prefer showing up to give you more contrast between what you don't prefer and what you do prefer, and make what you do prefer more clear in your mind. And that's a positive way and a preferable way to use what you don't prefer. And as soon as you use it up in a preferable way, it will go away, because you have, in fact, used it for the reason it showed up. If you refuse to accept that what showed up has any part in being in your life, you're the one that makes it stick around longer than it needs to because you're refusing to validate something that is actually a part of your life that has shown up and manifested before you. So the idea, again, is to come from the positive state as the fourth step, to allow yourself to know that it has to have manifested for a reason. And if you stay in the positive state, you will get to use it in a positive way and get a benefit from it. Now, that's the first 4 steps of the 11 elements of excitement. You act on your passion to the best you can, no insistence or assumption as to the outcome, and you remain in a positive state so that you can get the benefit from whatever it is that manifests, because you know it's got to have manifested for a reason that can serve you. When you do that, when you act on these 4 steps and stay in that positive state, you then unlock all the automatic tools that will serve you and act to your advantage in life. And these are the remaining elements of the 11 elements of excitement. Your life becomes a driving engine. You have the energy to move forward because when you are excited about acting on your passion, it gives you the energy to do so. It becomes the driving engine. You can't wait to act on it. You can't wait to get up in the morning and start doing the things that you love to do. It becomes the organizing principle of synchronicity, which literally brings you things in the order in which you need to act on them by showing you which ones contain more excitement, more passion than any other choice. Whatever it is you didn't have time to act on at the end of the day, when you are excited about going to sleep, you didn't need to act on that day. It literally organizes every facet of your life and allows you to experience a monumental flow of perfect timing in terms of how things and opportunities come to you that you need exactly when you need them. Not a moment before, but not a moment later than you need it. And then the third thing is it becomes the path of least resistance. Your life starts to flow more effortlessly. You don't have the idea of resistance, of pushing against things, of forcing things to happen. It's just an automatic function that you start slipping and flowing through your life more easily. And you see that the manifestations happen more easily, more automatically in your life. It becomes the path that connects you to all expressions of excitement in your life that are relevant for you to experience. Whatever it is that will be relevant for you will come in perfect timing. Whatever doesn't come isn't relevant for you, at least not at that moment. So don't stress, don't be impatient, don't push, don't force, thinking that something has to happen right now or something is wrong. Let it come to you automatically in the form it needs to come. And remember that whatever form your excitement and passion does come in doesn't mean that that's the form that actually has to come to fruition. Sometimes the idea will come in a certain form just to get you to make a move because your higher mind knew that if it came to you in that form, you would take action on it. And then perhaps it will lead you to where you need to be so that what really needs to happen can happen for you that serves you best. So never assume that the form the excitement comes in is the form that has to actually come to fruition in physical terms, because you don't know that that's the case. And again, that's why it's important to drop the insistence that a certain outcome must happen, because you don't really know why your excitement manifested the way that it did, but you'll find out if you just go with the flow of whatever it is that excites you at the moment more than any other thing. The idea is that your path may seem to be winding, but if that's really the path of least resistance and the path of connectivity for you, that's relevant for you, it will actually be the fastest path. What may appear to be a shorter path that may seem to be straighter, if it's really not your path, will contain so much resistance that you'll actually go more slowly on that straighter path than you would on the winding one, which is really the path of least resistance for you. Then the next element is the idea that it is the path of support, where it will bring you whatever form of abundance you need to allow you to continue to keep acting on your excitement. But you have to remember that abundance can come in many forms. Yes, on your planet, you have a form of exchange that you call money, and that's fine. It's equally valid to any other form of abundance, but it's not the only form. Being given a gift is a form of abundance. Having something to trade with someone is a form of abundance. The idea of your imagination is a form of abundance. Synchronicity is a form of abundance, and communication is a form of exchange and abundance that can bring you everything you need if you allow the different forms to work together. Sometimes you may need just a little bit of money, and then sometimes you may need to be added to that, something that someone gives you, or you find that you have something to trade with someone to add to it, or you find that communicating something to someone will give you the information you need to move forward. Let all the forms come together to form the 100% abundance that you may need, because it may not always be necessary for one particular form to fill the 100%, and it may not be the path of least resistance for it to do so. So let the abundance come, let the support come in whatever way it needs to, in whatever form it needs to come, so that you always have the 100% abundance that you need made out of different forms that will allow you to continue to be able to act on your excitement. Because remember, our definition of abundance is simply the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. That's it. That's all it takes. So you have the idea of the driving engine. You have the idea of the organizing principle of synchronicity. You have the idea of the path of least resistance. You have the idea of the path of connection. You have the idea of the path of support. And now you have the idea of the path of relevance, as we have said, where the things that are truly relevant for you will come to you through that synchronicity, and the things that don't come are simply not relevant for you, at least not at that moment. They may become relevant for you, they may not. But the point is you have to know that you have to trust the way your life unfolds. And what it brings you is, if you're operating on that frequency, what you actually need. And nothing else will come because you don't need it. Again, at least not at that moment. If you do need it at some point, the organizing principle of synchronicity will bring it to you, will bring you the opportunity, will bring you the doorway to walk through, will bring you the information you need at that moment to do what you need to do when you need to do it. So trust the idea that relevance is key. It's not, again, about the idea of what is possible. It's about the idea of what is probable, what is relevant for you to be fulfilled as the you that you are. And finally, you find that the element that wraps it all up is the reflective mirror. In other words, as you are moving forward on acting on your passion and your excitement, one of the things that may happen is that the reflective mirror tool may reveal to you, may bring something up in you that is not in alignment with your excitement. You may be holding on to an unconscious negative fear-based belief system that you didn't know was there. So when you move forward and accelerate on your excitement and raise your frequency, you are more capable of handling in a positive way what the reflective mirror may reveal to you has been lurking inside your unconscious mind that you didn't know was there, so that in bringing it to your conscious mind, you can realize that there is something out of alignment with who you prefer to be, and recognize that if you analyze what the actual belief is saying to you, you will realize it makes no sense. And when it makes no sense, it's gone. That's the end of the process of letting it go. If you still behave the same way that you don't prefer to, then that's your first clue that you haven't found the fundamental belief, or that some belief is making you believe that this belief that you don't prefer still makes sense somehow. Find that belief and let that go, because sometimes beliefs will collect together to form self-sustaining cycles. They'll support each other, they'll reinforce each other in a manner that doesn't necessarily allow you to make a change within your belief system, because they're telling you that if you do, something bad will happen. They make you afraid to let go of things. They make you afraid to change. But you have to remember, as we said before, you're changing all the time. It's not a matter of having to learn how to change. It's a matter of realizing that you're changing all the time and deciding for yourself what you want the next change to be, how you want to define it, who you prefer to be as a being, how you wish to express yourself, what you prefer your reality to reflect back to you. So the reflective mirror, paradoxically, while you're acting on your passion, may bring up things that are not representative of your passion, but having the reflective mirror, here's the paradox, bring to your attention things that are not reflective of your excitement is part of your excitement. Because without discovering those things, you wouldn't know that there is something holding you back. You wouldn't be aware of that negative and fear-based belief that once you let go of, you can add its energy to the momentum of your passion and accelerate yourself that much more quickly forward in the direction that you prefer. So you have the 1, that becomes the 3, that defines the 5, which is the structure of existence, in your experience that becomes the 7 basic needs that will allow your life to feel fulfilled and joyful, that then expresses themselves in the 11 elements of excitement by following the 4-point formula of simply acting on your passion to the best you can, no insistence or assumption on the outcome, and staying in a positive state no matter what happens, because remember, it's not about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens that makes all the difference in your experience of your reality. And then you unleash automatically all of the tools, the remaining 7 tools of the driving engine and the organizing principle of synchronicity and the path of least resistance, the path of connection, the path of relevance, and the reflective mirror that allows you, along with abundance, to move forward smoothly, effortlessly, joyfully, and accelerate into your perfect, greater self. Not that every stage isn't perfect for what it is, but the self that you prefer to be, the preferable self, the true you, the fundamental, essential you, the signature vibration that is you, that marks you as that particular reflection, your particular reflection of all that is. So we give you this refresher, we give you this reminder, so that as you pass through this passage now, through the eye of the needle and come out the other side, having ideally stripped away many of the fear-based beliefs you've been holding on to that have been anchoring you to the past, and allowing yourself to start being informed not by the past self, but by the future self instead, to mirror that you, to become that you, to experience being that you can remind yourself to use these tools, to apply them into your physical reality. Take the actions, and don't hold back, that are representative of your passion, so that you may also become a living example to others, that seeing in you the joy that you experience by doing so can remind them that they have that option for themselves as well. And that's what makes the difference. And we remind you, you never change the world you're on, but you change yourself. And since you're always constantly shifting through billions of parallel realities every second anyway, by allowing yourself to be the vibration you prefer, you navigate yourself through the parallel realities that are more and more and more and more every day in every way, taking you to different Earths, different versions of Earth that already simultaneously coexist together, that are more and more and more representative and reflective of the version of Earth you prefer to experience. So remember that just because you can see a version you don't prefer doesn't mean that it has to affect you. But it's paramount that you must take the actions that are representative of the kind of actions you would take in the world that you prefer, in order to demonstrate to others that there is another option they may not have considered. We thank you for allowing us to remind you and refresh you as to these principles. Apply them. It's up to you. And now we may begin, if you wish, with dialogue and questions. How may we now be of service to you?